Yeah, hello guys. I would like to welcome you in webinar with Northumbria University. My name is Arturas. I am from Casto International. That's my colleague Nelis. Today we will monitor that webinar, and in the beginning we would like to introduce you how to use webinar platform so that you know how to ask questions. Nelis, please, can you tell that?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, we would like to check that you can see us and you can also hear us properly. So in the left side of your computer of the webinar platform, you will see the icon of the hand. So something like this. So if you can see it, please push it, and we will be able to notice that. And as we see that more and more hands are raising.
Yeah, it's raising.
Yeah, so we can see that you can hear us when you can see us properly. And just two more options what you can do in this webinar platform. So the chat function, that could be used for, I don't know, general discussion, some kind of links that we will provide, for example, for a video that you will watch in the beginning. And as well, you can have and push the icon of a question mark. And if you do so, you can also send us questions. So all those questions will be sent for us, and we will be able to cover and answer those questions in the beginning of the webinar. So those are the main and most important functions of this webinar platform.
Yeah, great. So now I'd like to introduce you Northumbria University representative who will just tell you much more about the Northumbria University. Actually, it's a fantastic university. It has very good statistics, reputation, and you will hear everything during presentation. Actually, I already saw the presentation and it was interesting. I hope it will be much more interesting after Thomas will tell us much more. Thomas, could you please just introduce yourself?
Okay, good evening. My name's Tom Allardyce. I'm from Northumbria University, as you've heard. As you might have guessed, I am not English, I am Scottish, so I have a very strange accent. So don't worry if you don't understand everything. There'll be plenty of time at the end of the presentation to ask some questions, and I'd really like to see lots of difficult questions to make sure that I'm really challenged during this presentation. So Northumbria University, we're going to talk a little bit about what the university has to offer you as a potential student, and we're going to focus a little bit really on masters, postgraduate study at the university, and what you can expect from study at the university and the fantastic city of Newcastle, where we are based.
Okay, great. So probably now we will share the screen with others so that they could see the presentation and we could go further. Is it sound good for you? Okay.
Okay, I can see that fine, so that's great. Let's get started. So there is a reminder of the university, Northumbria. For those of you who have not heard about Northumbria University before, we have a quick introduction. So Northumbria University is a research-rich, business-focused professional university with a global reputation for academic excellence. Now, some of the kind of main points to bring out there are research. So the university focuses a lot on research and also professional. We are a very business-focused university, and we'll talk a little bit about how that feeds in to master's study at the university. So we are the largest university in the northeast of England. We have over 35,000 students from 130 different countries. So we're a very international university. We have quite a large number of Lithuanian students, Polish students, students from all over the European Union and countries all around the world. Now, 35,000 students, to give you an idea of how big that is, that makes us pretty much about the 15th biggest university in the United Kingdom. So we are very large. in terms of master's programs at the university, just like most UK universities, we have 1 year master's programs, and we have masters starting in September and also January each year. Something that's slightly different about Northumbria University is that we have 2 year master's programs as well. Now, the 2 year master's is slightly different, and it allows students to do an integrated work placement or a period of study abroad at a university outside the UK. So that means that students get the experience of a real job to help with their employment once you graduate, or you can experience study in a completely different country, which is also very valuable for your future employment. Now, the university consists of 4 academic faculties spread across 2 campuses in Newcastle, which is the city we're based in, but we also have a smaller campus based in London, the UK capital city. And that campus really focuses on postgraduate study. So if you want to do a master's programme in London, we can offer that option as well. So we can move to the next slide, please. So, what we're going to talk about is 3 main areas. Learn from the best, how you can enjoy your experience at the university, and how a programme from Northumbria University will give your career the edge, how it will help you get the job you want. Next slide, please. Okay, so we're going to start by looking at learning from the best. If we move to the next slide. Okay, so here we have the structure of the university. Now, one of the really good things about Northumbria University is that we teach pretty much everything. We have hundreds of different programs at the university, and they are spread across 4 faculties. So we have art, design and social sciences, business and law, engineering and environment, and health and life sciences. So we're going to talk about each of those in turn. Next slide, please. Thank you. So if we start by looking at the Faculty of Arts, Design and Social Sciences, here we have a few key facts just to introduce that faculty to you. So as the name suggests, that faculty focuses a lot on our creative subjects, the art and design subjects. So the School of Design is one of Europe's top design schools. In the School of Design, you will find programs like design for industry and fashion, anything to do with the creative subjects at the university. We also have some very specialised art programs. For example, we have a 2-year master's in the conservation of fine art. So if you want to look at preserving very expensive and historical artwork, we have a program for that, which is unique in the UK. We are top 20 in the UK for art and design, and our fashion programs are globally recognised. We were one of the first universities in the UK to teach fashion programs over 60 years ago. And we also have first-class humanities teaching. So the other part of that faculty is our programs around social sciences, and we have a really good range of master's programs in that area as well. Next slide, please. Now, one of our largest faculties in the university is the Faculty of Business and Law, and that's one of our most popular faculties for postgraduate study. A lot of students choose to do a master's in business, and a lot of our students come from different backgrounds. So perhaps some of you might have done undergraduate study in art or engineering, or a subject which is different for business. We offer a lot of business programs which are known as conversion courses, and that means you can join them with no background in business. So our business school is very well ranked. It's in the top 1% of the world. And that is based on our accreditation from the AACSB. Now, that is one of the world's most prestigious accreditation schemes for business schools. We are the only university in Europe which has a double accreditation from AACSB, which puts us in the top 1% in the world. We were Business School of the Year in 2015, as judged by Times Higher Education. We were the top business school in the UK. And also we have law within this faculty. Now, we have a number of LLM programs, Master of Law programs, which focus on things like international trade law and international commerce law. And we have excellent rates of graduate employment, and we've won a number of awards for our law teaching at the university. Next slide, please. So moving on to our third faculty, okay, and now we have engineering and environment. So within that section of the university, you will find all our programs relating to engineering, both mechanical and electronic engineering, all our computer science related and physics programs, and also all our programs which relate to construction, architecture, building, land and property management. Now, our programs within the architecture and land building management are very well respected in the UK. We are in the UK top 10, according to the Guardian League tables for those subjects. We've invested very heavily in our facilities. One thing you will find at Northumbria University is that we have a very modern campus here. And over the last couple of years, we've spent £6.7 million investing into new facilities for our science, technology, engineering and mathematics programs. That includes a brand new school for computer science, which will be completed this year. And we have professional accreditations on all these programs. So a number of professional bodies which regulate industries such as architecture, engineering, they accredit our programs. So that means that your education, your qualification from Northumbria University will be recognised in the UK, it will be recognised in Lithuania or Poland, and it will be recognised around the world. Our students travel around the world, work in a lot of different sectors, and their qualifications are well recognised and respected. Next slide, please. And the final faculty at Northumbria is that of Health and Life Sciences. Now, within that faculty, you have all our healthcare related programs and also life sciences. So that's our biological sciences programs. Something that Northumbria is really well known for is sport. And that includes things like sports science, but also sports education and sports management. We are top 5 in the UK for our sports facilities. And as I'll talk later about, we are very well respected for our performance in a number of sports. We have a number of Olympic medal winners, we have sports scholarships, we have excellent sporting facilities in the university. We are recognised as one of the top education providers for nursing in the UK, and again, a lot of our programs have professional accreditations from professional bodies, particularly around the healthcare programs. Next slide, please. Okay, so although we have the 4 faculties and we teach a lot of programs, we also offer a lot of support for our students to make sure you get the best possible education and the highest quality of degree. So one of the things which we rank very well for in the UK is our library facilities. We currently rank joint first in the UK with Cambridge University. So obviously a very well known, well respected university. Our library is judged the same quality as theirs. One of the main differences in our library is that it's open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. You can access the library and IT facilities anytime you want. We also have one of the best student services facilities in the UK. We've recently centralised all our student services into one facility. So regardless of what kind of support you need as a student, you can access it from one area in the university. We have 24-hour security and also an IT helpline. So if you are in the library trying to do something on the computers and it won't work, we have a 24-hour IT helpline who can provide you with assistance. We're also very well ranked for our student broadband, and I'll talk about accommodation options later on. But our accommodation has some of the fastest broadband in any UK university. And that's really important when you're studying in the UK, because a lot lot of your learning materials now are accessed online. So you need a really good, fast internet connection for that. Next slide, please. Okay, so now we're going to look a little bit at life at the university and life in the city of Newcastle. Next slide, please. So we're going to look at four main areas: Sports Central, which is our sports facilities at the university; accommodation, the student union, and the city of Newcastle itself. Next slide. Okay, so we're going to start by looking at our sports facilities. Now, if any of you want to do sport alongside your studies in the UK, Northumbria is a fantastic option for you. The building which you can see on the top left of your corner is called, of the slide, is called Sports Central. Now, Sports Central opened 5 years ago at a cost of £30 million. It is one of the most advanced sports and leisure facilities in any UK university. In that facility, you will find a 3,000-seater auditorium where our local basketball team plays. I know that in Lithuania, basketball is a really big sport. It is also a really big sport in Newcastle. We have a swimming pool, which has a movable floor, so we can try different types of sports in there. And one of the best things about Northumbria is that you can try any sport. Some of our students compete at elite level and study under sports scholarships, but regardless of whether you want to compete at that level or just want to get involved in sport as a hobby, we can offer that as part of your studies. We are ranked in the top 5 in the UK for our facilities. We are the winners of the Stan Calvert Cup for the last 3 years. Now, I very much doubt any of you will have heard of the Stan Calvert Cup, but in Newcastle we have 2 universities, Northumbria University and Newcastle University. We are located next door to each other, and we have a very strong competition between the 2 universities. So if you imagine Oxford and Cambridge, Newcastle and Northumbria are the same, and the Stan Calvert Cup is our sports competition which is held every year, and Northumbria always wins it because we have the best sports teams and the best sports facilities. We're top 10 in the UK in terms of our sports performance, so our sports teams compete against sports teams from around the other universities in the UK, and we currently sit about number 8 in the UK. And also our students do voluntary projects both in the UK and overseas focused around sport. Next slide, please. If we move on from there, we have the accommodation facilities. So when you come to the UK, a major concern and one of your biggest expenses is accommodation in the UK. Now, the good news is that Northumbria University has fantastic accommodation and we have a lot of it. At the university, we have 3,000 rooms of student accommodation, and we're ranked in the top 2 in the UK for our student accommodation. We also have some of the lowest cost student accommodation in the UK. I know that a lot of you, when you're thinking of coming to the UK, you instantly think of going to London. One of the big advantages of studying in Newcastle is that the cost of living is much lower. So to give you an example, students who study at our London campus would pay in the region of £200 to £250 per week for their accommodation. The accommodation at the Newcastle campus starts from £75 per week, much cheaper. We have excellent broadband, as I mentioned earlier, so it's a 100 megabyte connection now in all of the university accommodation. And you can choose from different types of accommodation. So you can have en-suite, where you have your own bathroom, you can have shared facilities, we can have catered facilities with meal packages, or self-catering. So you have lots of selection at a really good value for money. Next slide, please. Okay, so we've looked at sport, we've looked at accommodation. Now we're going to look a little bit at the student union. So the student union is a major part of your social life at the university. We are winners of the Student Union of the Year, so we have a very good reputation. raise a lot of money for charity. I would say one of the big things to think about when we talk about the student union is how it can help you meet new people. When I speak to European students who are currently at the university, a lot of them, when they first come to the UK, are really worried about making new friends. Now, at the university, we have an EU Student Society, which has a number of Lithuanian students, as well as students from all sorts of other countries. And that gives you the opportunity to meet students from your own country and around the world. And that's just one of over 100 societies that run at the university. We can try lots of new activities and meet new people. We also have a lot of music at the university. So Ed Sheeran, Mark Ronson, London Grammar, other big bands come and play at the university every year. So if you like music, you like culture, Newcastle's a great city for that as well. Next slide, please. Okay, now we're just looking at the city of Newcastle itself. Some of you might not know very much about Newcastle. You've probably heard of our football team, Newcastle United, who hopefully next year will go back into the Premier League. They're at the top of the league below at the moment, so fingers crossed, it will be good news. The football stadium is very near the university, and also it's near Sunderland, which has a team in the Premier League at the moment. Newcastle is very famous for its nightlife. It's consistently voted the #1 student city for nightlife in the entire UK. If you like culture, you like music, you like clubbing, you like shopping, Newcastle is the city for you. The good thing about Newcastle is it's a very small city. So it's only about 250,000 people, 250,000. So it's very easy to get around on foot. We also have a metro system, which can take you to the coastline. So Newcastle is very close to the coast of the UK, which means we have beautiful beaches. If you're feeling very brave, you can go in for a swim and be like those people there and do some surfing. But you've got beautiful countryside, you've got the best of the city, all in one location. Also, an important thing to say is that 1 in every 6 people in Newcastle is a student. There is a massive student population here, which means the city is very much focused on the needs of students. Next slide, please. Okay, we're going to look now at your career and how an education from Northumbria can help with your career. The man who was on the previous slide there, you might not recognise him, but he's a very rich man and he's a graduate of Northumbria University. His name is Sir Jonathan Ive. He is the Vice President for Design at Apple. So to give you an idea of what he has achieved, he is a graduate from our Design from Industry program. He has designed every Apple product, all the way through from the early Apple computers through to the latest iPhone and iPad. He is one of our graduates. We'll talk more about our graduates in a second. Next slide, please. Okay, so we're going to look at support, opportunities and your future. So what kind of support does the university offer you when it comes to finding a good career and a good job? We work very closely with business. So a lot of universities, their teaching is based entirely on research. Northumbria does research, but we also focus very much on giving you an education which is focused on the needs of business. So as I mentioned earlier on, we offer 2-year master's programs. Which give you the chance to work with real companies as part of your studies. As I also mentioned, our programs are accredited by professional bodies. We have an award-winning careers department who will give you a lot of support, both in terms of finding a placement during your studies, but also in helping you for your career after you graduate. We have great industry standard facilities, so you get to use the technology and equipment which you will use once you graduate. And we also do live projects, so companies come to us with real projects which you can work on to help their business and to help your studies. Next slide, please. We offer up a range of opportunities for students. probably the main one, which I've already mentioned, is the fact that we can build an industry placement into your program. So it mentions there that industry placements are available in all undergraduate courses, but you will see we offer a really wide range of 2-year masters. Where you see a 2-year master's course, it will involve an industry placement. So you get to put your studies into practice and the work placement. The good news, as I'll mention in a moment, is that the 2-year master's is not double the price. It is only slightly more expensive than a 1-year master's. Next slide, please. Now, it's all very well as telling you about the support which we offer, but it's very important to think about the evidence we have that we give people the best chance of getting a job. So it's good to look at some of our key statistics. 94% of graduates from Northumbria University are working or in further study within 6 months. That's one of the highest scores in the UK. However, the most important thing is that Northumbria is 7th in the UK for professional employment. So that means our students are getting jobs which require a university degree, or the job is actually related to what the students study. The 94% statistic can relate to any kind of work. So theoretically, that could be somebody who's graduated and has a job in McDonald's. I'm sure none of you want to do a master's and end up working in McDonald's. So it's very important that your qualification will get you professional employment. And as it says there, Northumbria University is in the top 10 for securing our students graduate level professional employment. Next slide, please. Okay, so we talked a little about our alumni at the university, people who have graduated from the university and went on to great things. Now, I just wanted to pull up some of our other famous alumni. Some of them you will know, some of them you won't know. I think if we talk about the most famous alumni we have on there, it's probably Sting, the singer from the band The Police that you might have heard of. He is a Northumbria graduate from quite some time ago. He actually trained as a teacher at the university. If we look up onto the top row, on the left we have the head of BAFTA, which is one of the major film and television organisations in the UK. You might have heard of the BAFTA Awards, which are very famous. Next to her we have a very famous director, Ian Marshall. He has graduated, he has directed a number of feature films, including Dogs, Soldiers and Descent, but he's more famous at the moment as a director of programmes such as Game of Thrones and Westworld from Netflix. And then directly next to him, you can just see in the background the product which that man sells. Now, you might have never heard of Trunky suitcases. Trunky suitcases are a product, basically a suitcase for children. If you're ever travelling through an international airport, you're guaranteed to see a small child riding around on a Trunky suitcase. And just like the graduate who's the Chief Design Officer at Apple, that is another graduate from the design faculty at the university. And we talked about sport earlier on. If we look at the bottom row, we have Victoria Pendleton. Victoria Pendleton won Olympic gold for cycling, and she is a sports graduate from the university. So that gives you an example of how we support elite level athletes who study at Northumbria. Next slide, please. So that's given you a good introduction to Northumbria University, and I can already see a number of great questions coming in. So keep those questions coming in and we'll answer them in a few minutes. But I just wanted to give you an overview of some important information for students from Lithuania and Poland. I understand we have students from both countries joining us today, which is fantastic. So starting off with our academic entry requirements. From Lithuania, we require a bachelor's degree with a grade 7 or above. If you are studying for a Polish bachelor's degree, we require a grade of 4 or above. Now, those are general entry requirements. Some programs might require slightly higher requirements, but that's a good guideline for the vast majority of master's programs offered at Northumbria. So those are your academic requirements. We also need to look at your English language requirements. All universities in the UK will need evidence that you have good English language ability. So most master's programs at Northumbria University will require an IELTS score of 6.5 with 5.5 or above in all components: speaking, listening, reading and writing. So you would find that all universities in the UK would accept the IELTS test. That is the most common test we see. However, at Northumbria, we actually accept a really wide range of tests. So if you're from Lithuania, and you're going to need to excuse my pronunciation here, but if you have Brandos status English at 8 or above, we can accept that as evidence of English language ability. If you've studied in Poland and done the Matura, we need oral English at 60% and also written English, either 75% in the basic test or 70% in extended. A number of students from Europe take the Cambridge test. We accept a range of Cambridge tests, so those are perfectly acceptable. We also accept Pearson and TOEFL. There's information on our website, which gives a full list of all the qualifications we accept. One thing I would say is that for evidence of English language ability, our ability to accept a particular English language test is at the discretion of our admissions team. So if you've taken an English test some time ago, for example, or there is evidence that perhaps your English level is not very good, then we do have the right to refuse to accept a test. But in the vast majority of cases, we can accept a wide range of tests from Polish and Lithuanian students. Next slide, please. So I also wanted to talk a little bit about fees and finance at the university, because I'm sure that is a major concern for a lot of you. So if we start by looking at tuition fees, when you come to study in the UK at master's level, you will find that there is a lot of variety in the tuition fees. You can expect to pay at some universities up to £20,000 for a master's, sometimes even higher. Northumbria has relatively low tuition fees, but a very high quality of education. So our 1 year's master's programs, for most of our courses, the cost will be £5,665 for the 1 year masters. Now, if you do one of our 2 year masters programs, the cost is usually £4,000 per year, which means the total cost is £8,000. But we allow you to split your tuition fees over the 2 years of study. And we also allow you to pay your tuition fees in instalments. So if you want to spread the cost of your tuition, you can spread it across the full year of study. An important thing to note is that there is a student loan available from the UK government of up to £10,000. Now, that £10,000 can be paid directly to you as a student. It doesn't come to the university. So the £10,000 comes to you, and you can use the money to pay for tuition fees and also to pay for your living costs as well. So it's a little bit different from the student loan, which is available to undergraduate students. In that case, the money comes direct to the university and only pays for tuition fees. However, for the postgraduate loan, the money is yours to spend as you wish. We also offer discounts of 5 to 10% for Lithuanian and Polish students who have strong academic performance. And there's information on our website about the grades we require to get that discount. For the first time this year, we've introduced the Vice-Chancellor's Scholarship. Now, the Vice-Chancellor's Scholarship is a Northumbria award, which has previously been available to UK students only, but this year we're opening it up to EU students as well. Now, that is an award of £2,750. Applications for that award close on the 19th of March, and information is available on the website. I can provide a link for it during the question and answer session later. It is only available for certain programs, but it does cover quite a wide range of courses at the university. Now, probably the most important thing to note is that Newcastle has one of the lowest cost of living in the UK. So the important thing to think about when you're researching universities in the UK is that the cost of living can vary quite significantly from city to city and university to university. But you can be sure that Newcastle has a very low cost of living, with estimated total monthly costs of less than £1,000 per month. Of course, your cost of living depends very much on how you live when you're in the city. But remember, we talked earlier on about accommodation, and accommodation at Northumbria is one of the lowest in the UK in terms of cost, and that is probably your major cost. Remember, Northumbria is based in the city centre, which really cuts down on your accommodation costs and also gives you great access to work opportunities. We have great opportunities for working in shops and bars and companies because we have a city centre location. Next slide, please. So that brings us to the end of the presentation. We've had quite a lot of information in there, covering a good introduction to the university and the city of Newcastle. I'm now very happy to answer some questions that you might have about studying with us.
All right, so we have quite a lot of questions. So shortly, I will start with the first one that we have written. So we have a question from Victoria. Is full-time one-year postgraduate studies the same as master's degree?
Yes. So if you study in the UK, usually a master's course lasts for 1 calendar year. Okay, so that's a little bit different to an academic year. Most students would study a master's starting in September, and you would study your first semester from September through to Christmas, and then you would do a second semester of classes from January through till around May, and then you would normally have a summer holiday, but that summer holiday would generally, for masters, be used to write up your dissertation, and then after the summer you would graduate if you'd completed your dissertation, which is your major research project, which forms part of most master's programs in the UK. So I think that the one-year master's is maybe a little bit shorter than Lithuania and Poland, but please be assured that it's still a very high quality program. You might find it is very intensive though. So you have quite a lot of teaching and study and research crammed into that 1 calendar year.
Right, and is it enough to finish health psychology postgraduate program to work as psychologist?
So if all the master's programs at the university have a 1-year time frame, so yes, it's enough to finish like a health psychology program. If you want to work as a psychologist, sometimes there are professional examinations that you need to take. It depends a little bit on which country you want to work on. I would advise for the health psychology program having a detailed look at the course page on the website, which gives a lot more information. It's also worth looking at the entry requirements for psychology masters in the UK. A lot of psychology masters require you to have done an undergraduate program which is recognised by the British Psychological Society, BPS. You'll see a lot of programs mention that they need a BPS accredited undergraduate program. Not all psychology programs require that though. So I would recommend just checking the entry requirements for each master's to check what you need. You might find that the undergraduate study psychology program from your home country is recognised, and there's more information on that on the British Psychological Society website. And of course, CAS2 can help you with that as well.
All right. Another question, how many Lithuanians and Polish students are currently
studying in your university?
That is a very good question. Northumbria University is a very large university, as we mentioned. We've got about 35,000 students. But actually, for European student numbers, it's not as big as some universities in the UK. The university hasn't done as much work in Europe as some universities in the UK. So you'd probably find our European student numbers in general are a little bit smaller. So at the moment, we have around 700 EU students in the university. Now, I don't have precise numbers of Lithuanian and Polish students, but Lithuanian students are around a third or fourth biggest nationality within that group, and our Polish students are slightly smaller, probably our fifth or sixth biggest nationality. But we would have more Lithuanian students than Polish students.
All right. Another question that we received from attendees: how to apply for a loan? I believe a question was more specifically for that vice-canceled scholarship, I guess.
So there are actually two different student loan schemes. There is the UK government student loan scheme, which is the £10,000 that I mentioned. And in order to apply for that scheme, the first thing you need to do is get an offer from a UK university. So my recommendation is to work with CASTU and get them to handle your application process and get you an offer from Northumbria first. And they can also give you a lot of guidance about how to apply for the student loan as well. They've got a lot of expert knowledge on how to do it. But the good news is it's a relatively simple process. The loan scheme was introduced for the first time last year, so it is quite a new thing. But if you simply go onto Google and look up UK postgraduate student loan, you should find a link to it on there. Also, there is another scheme from Erasmus Plus. It's slightly different. It's financed by a UK bank, but it also offers a similar level of funding, maybe slightly more. But most students, I think, go with the UK government scheme at the moment.
All right. Another question from Karina. What is the tuition fee for different programs? Is it the same for all of them, or it's different?
The fee that I mentioned, £5,665, that applies to the vast majority of master's programmes at the university. Am I able to put a link onto the chat section?
Yeah, sure, you can do that.
Yeah, just bear with me 1 second. So what I'm going to do is put up a link which will show you all of our postgraduate fees at the university. So you can have a look at that, and it will show you that that fee that I quoted applies to the vast majority of our programs, but there are a small number of programs which have a slightly higher fee. There are what are known as premium programs. So those are maybe programs which have a slightly more expensive for us to deliver as a university, or maybe are in slightly higher demand. So I'll just pop this link on here. Hopefully you can all see that. So that will take you directly to a link which has a list of fees for every single course at the university.
All right, so if you like to see, there is a chat option, and you can see the link that was posted by Tom. So please press the link and you'll see all the information regarding that fees and tuitions. All right, and we are moving to the next question. And the next question, I believe that Tom received a lot, many times during this year. So what about Brexit situation? And is there going to be an impact to studying in UK because of that?
That's a very common question. For students who are starting this year, it's actually a really easy question to answer. And the answer is that there is no impact on students who are starting this September. So if you want to do a 1 year or a 2-year master's starting this September, there's actually no impact at all. The UK government has actually made quite a bit of effort to make sure that students still feel welcome in the UK, because I know some people are worried about safety and the welcome you will have in the UK. But the UK government has provided a lot of reassurance for students who are starting this year that there will be no difference. If you're starting next year, we don't actually know if there will be any impact. What we're hearing at the moment is that there is likely to be no impact next year as well, but we don't have a guarantee from the UK government about that. The best idea is to keep in touch with CASTU, who will keep you updated with the latest developments around that. But bear in mind that for most students, their masters will last for 1 year. So from the point you start studying in the UK to the point you leave your programme, will still be part of the European Union. I think it's probably worth mentioning as well that Newcastle is an extremely international city, which is a very large EU population. And Northumbria University was very proactive in promoting us staying in the European Union. And it's worth noting as well that Newcastle, our city, voted to stay in the European Union, partly because we recognise what a big part European students and European citizens play in our community and the university. So basically the answer to your question is no impact at the moment, but stay in touch with CASTU and they'll keep you updated with developments.
All right. And one more question from Alexandra this time. Question sounds like this. If I graduate from linguistics, English studies, this year in Poland, can I apply, for example, psychology?
Okay, that's a really good question. So as I mentioned earlier on, the entry requirements for psychology master's programs in the UK can vary a little bit. So what I would advise you to do is have a look at the master's programs on the university website. I'm just going to put a link in the chat, which will give you a better idea. Well, it'll allow you to search for courses at the university so you can quickly see what we actually teach, because I'm very aware that I haven't actually taken us through every single course. But if you go onto this website, that's our course search tool. So if you go in there, you can search for psychology master's programs. Now, for some of the psychology master's programs, you need to have a psychology degree. So you need to have studied psychology, and also that degree needs to be accredited by the British Psychological Society. As I mentioned earlier, some psychology degrees from Lithuania and Poland will be recognised by the BPS, so you can join the programme, but some will not, so you'll need to check that. However, some psychology programs welcome students from a wider variety of backgrounds. So, for example, linguistics, English studies, business, they're more flexible with their entry requirements. So if you're looking for a psychology master's, I would strongly advise whichever university you're looking for to carefully check the entry requirements before you apply. And again, CASTU have a good knowledge of the entry requirements and the options at different universities, so they can guide you through and help you decide and identify a suitable programme.
Alrighty, and we have the last question from Thomas' side. Is it difficult to work and study at the same time?
That's a good question as well. It's a question which is a little bit difficult to answer. In terms of legally, as an EU student studying in the UK, you can work freely. So, you know, nothing has changed around that with the Brexit situation. You can still come here, you can still work without a visa and work as many hours as you want to. And as I mentioned, Northumbria University has a city centre location. There's lots of work opportunities. What you need to really focus on is making sure that you have a good balance between your studies and your work. I don't think anybody wants to come to the UK and fail and not get a good quality master's degree at the end of your studies. Because the master's degree in the UK is 1 year in length, there is a lot crammed into that year. So what I would advise you to do is come and start your studies and think about the demands that you have to keep up with on your studies, and see how your workload pans out, and then decide whether you want to take on a part-time job. As I mentioned as well, Northumbria offers the 2-year master's programs. So you come to the UK and work to get money, but also to get experience. So the 2-year master's gives you that opportunity to work as part of your master's, develop your CV, and have better working opportunities. But if you're wanting part-time work to support you financially, I would just be very careful and not work too many hours, because we don't want you to fail, basically.
All right, so I believe that our webinar is about to end. Just a little bit more information from my side as customer representative. So just to let you know that if you would like to apply and study in Northumbria University, everything that you will need to know and to do is to apply through Castu. We have online application, it's pretty simple, and we'll help with all the further applications steps, and it's gonna be really easy, believe me. And another thing that I would like to mention, it's really important that people who have registered for individual Skype talks with Tom, with Northumbria University representative, individual talks, so please do not forget to turn your Skype online to find the Tom, the name of the Tom, and all the instructions that you receive with email. So just be on time and be present and have a good time with Tom while giving more questions about studies in Northumbria University and all the other things. So from my side, I would like to thank you for everyone who have attended and who have participated in this webinar. I think we had a really good presentation and really good slides and presentation from Tom's side, from Northumbria University. And it was really exciting to listen and to learn more about opportunities and master studies in this university. And I believe if you would like to apply this year, as you know, nothing is changing, and you can apply and get all the things that like was in previous year. So nothing is changing if you're applying in 2017. And you can get the loan, the tuition fee is the same as Tom presented. And I guess from my side, I would like to say thank you once again and wish you the best luck. And of course, thank you for our university representative from Northumbria, it's a Tom. So thank you very much for giving this important information, important presentation for our students in Lithuania and Poland. And I'm saying goodbye for you, and one more time, all the best luck. Goodbye, guys.
Bye-bye.